Hiya, we're back here again today with an introduction to Aphra Behn. So this is the probably most well-known biography of her, modern biography of her by Janet Todd. She is probably the expert in academia on the topic. And I'm just going to do an introduction because there's a lot to say about Aphra Behn. First of all, look, it's a new bookcase. I've moved to my other bookcase just to change the view a little bit. It's still as dusty as the other one. Anyhow, and I'm working on the microphone situation, but still no microphone today. Anyhow, back to our sheep. Aphra Behn. So 17th century writer, English writer, so we're talking 1600s, and she was arguably one of the first women writers in the English language to make a living off of her writing, because she was not a noble woman. There were other members of the nobility who were published, certainly, but they didn't need the money to pay for food and things like that. So she was living off of her writing, trying to anyways. She wrote plays, she wrote a lot of poems, and the poems were quite often dedicated to members of the nobility or the royalty in hopes of getting patronage from them, essentially getting like a commission from them after the fact, like, oh, that was a beautiful poem that you wrote about me, so here's a boon. And she wrote perhaps what is considered one of the early novels. I think it's technically classified as prose fiction, Orinoco. So doing a bit of everything to try and make ends meet, I think, including acting as a spy for the English government under Charles II. She was commissioned to go to Holland and find out information illicitly, right? And we have some letters of hers from this time period when she was in Holland trying to spy for the crown, basically writing back to her handler, asking for money. She was quite often asking for money because it was expensive. She was having to pay for lodging, she was having to pay for food, she was having to probably also try and bribe people to get information. It's not clear that she was a very effective spy, but anyhow, this was part of her activities, and she had like a code name and everything. So this is why I say this is just an introduction, because not only is she as a person personally fascinating in her life, but her works are also quite fascinating. She wrote several pieces of fiction that took place in the Americas, either North America or South America. And it is not 100% confirmed, but it is believed that she actually traveled to Suriname. So, a very unique person. And to situate a little bit more, she was a contemporary of Lord Rochester, if you know who that is. I'm not sure this is a portrait of Lord Rochester, but this is just to say he is known for writing libertine plays and things like that. There was a movie based on his life starring Johnny Depp a while back. It was interesting. So his sex life was considered a little bit salacious for the time period. And his writings as well. And her writings also, some of them are quite risque. So I'm going to read from one of her plays, not this time, but in a future video, to give you an example of that. She's definitely a little bit saucy. But the fact that she was really sort of on the avant-garde of exploring a lot of themes relative to how the English were conceiving of and constructing and presenting people in the Americas. She was writing after the Age of Exploration a little bit, but this is when a whole lot of ideas were still being formed, shaped, developed by Europeans regarding the new to them peoples that they were encountering, and all of the racist and imperialist, colonialist, etc. ideas that we know, and not only ideas, practices that were set into place little by little over the years. This was still fairly at the beginning, so at least as far as the Americas were concerned with the European powers. So there's definitely, we can see these things are in movement. They're not fixed set of ideas yet regarding racial hierarchies and yada yada yada. So that's my quick little introduction to Aphra Behn. Go ahead and take a look on Wikipedia or whatever if you want to find out a little bit more, and meet me back here for part 2.